Jianxing was awakened by Jianru. Evil doers will get their comeuppance. Death is just death. Why does he have to tell me? Who is he trying to disgust? Jianru was talking about Jianxing's grandfather, Jian Guxing, whom she had never met. Most people keep their family secrets hidden, but not Jianru. She not only wanted to expose them, but she insisted everyone should know. She didn't care about hiding it from Jianxing just because he was young. Because of this, Jianxing had a full night of dreams about the old stories Jianru muttered about. Like a bystander, Jianxing watched with cold eyes as the Jian family was in chaos, and in the end saw Jian Guxing push his grandmother away and walk farther and farther away. Divorce wasn't a thing in that era, so Jian Guxing's actions were tantamount to abandoning his wife and daughter. This could be considered divine retribution. Jianru's voice was not filled with self-satisfaction, but rather dripped with sarcasm. Pretty much. It's just not being struck by lightning, but being swept away by a flood. The local death investigation, with all their efforts, had sent the list to Hexian in Jianru's hands. Because of this, Jianru cursed for almost half a month. Enough, you're going to wake Jianxing again. It was the grandmother's voice. What do you mean enough? You wouldn't still be thinking about him, right? Oh, he doesn't think about you at all. With this idle time you should worry more about how many years you still have left to live. Jianru's words were unkind, not even sparing her own mother. Hearing this, Jianxing sighed, got up and left. When Jianru saw Jianxing, she didn't show any embarrassment. She just asked her what she wanted to eat, to which Jianxing replied, anything. The grandmother was originally sitting at the door, but seeing Jianxing, she quickly waved her over. Quickly wash your face and brush your teeth. Don't delay going to the supermarket. Jianxing had just graduated from junior high this year and was free during the summer vacation, so she had found a part-time job at a supermarket. Upon hearing this, Jianxing walked over and said, sure. With nothing to do, the grandmother hovered around her. School must be starting soon, right? Speak with your boss early. Don't let them keep you. I won't. Jianxing shoved her toothbrush in her mouth and mumbled. We agreed initially that I would work until today, then persist a little longer and come back early tomorrow. Jianxing nodded with her toothbrush in her mouth. After eating, Jianxing followed her usual routine and arrived at the supermarket at 9 in the morning to work the cash register and finished her first job in life at 5:30 in the afternoon. Alright, take your money and leave now, this damn weather, it looks like it's going to rain. Jianxing heard this and glanced outside. The ground was stirring up dust, and various red and black food plastic bags were spinning around. The wind was picking up. The sky darkened in an instant, looking like it was 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Indeed, it was about to rain. What are you looking at? Don't you believe me? The supermarket owner snorted with the corner of his eyes, exhaling smoke. This is life experience that you won't learn in school. Even the best and middle schools can't teach this. I do believe. Jianxing rolled a tread yuan notes and put them in her pocket, then took out a 1 yuan note from another pocket and handed it to the boss. Get me for Alps. As soon as she finished speaking, she didn't wait for the boss to nod and directly reached into the candy jar. You're earning money now and still breaking it up. Take a whole bar, uncle will give it to you. No need. Jianxing struggled for a bit, then poked her head to take a look. Are there no pink ones left? No more, the individual ones are all these kind. The boss squinted and took a look. What flavor is this? Is it so hard to sell? Roasted original milk flavor. Jianxing took a closer look at the candy jar and had no choice but to take out another 1.5 yuan from her pocket. Give me a whole bar. The boss, with a cigarette in his mouth, muttered unclearly, I already told you, I'll give it to you. Why so polite? Before Jianxing had time to put the money on the counter, a whoosh sound suddenly burst in her ear. It's raining. Even though she was prepared, Jianxing was still a bit dazed. The store owner saw Jianxing's expression and had a sense of pride as an experienced person. He snorted and said, I guess it's time to rest. Indeed, it was time to take a break. Being idle, Jianxing decided to take refuge back at the cash register. The old man gave her a look. I won't pay you overtime. Jianxing stuffed the 2.5 yuan on the counter into her pocket and said, consider it paid for the candy. T.S.K. The boss couldn't understand why this child of such tender age was so tedious. The rain is so heavy that there is no one in the supermarket. Bored, Jianxing lowered her head to look at the variety of cigarette boxes in the counter. Suddenly, a figure caught her peripheral vision. She unconsciously straightened up and looked up, only to catch a glimpse of a side profile, and ripples spread in her calm eyes. It was a boy, very tall, wearing a white t-shirt and jeans. His shoulder was damp, and as he lowered his head to fiddle with his hair, the bumps on the back of his neck were like a dragon's spine. His movements were neither big nor small, and his shoulder blades moved with him. He quickly straightened up, casually brushed his damp hair back, held up his mobile phone and said with a slight pant, "The rain is so heavy, you guys order first when you get there. Don't order too much, it's wasteful. I know, it's always me paying anyways." The rain was too heavy, covering half of the boy's voice. Jianxing listened vaguely, not sure if the rain was too loud or if her ears were ringing again. People's senses are probably all connected. After you can't hear clearly, it seems that you can't see clearly either. Not every day offers such a chance encounter. Jianxing couldn't help it. She pressed her hands on the glass counter and peeked out the door. The boy happened to turn his head at this moment. His movement was sudden, and the wind blew up, bringing with it a strong earthy smell. Caught off guard, Jianxing blinked, her expression slightly stunned. The boy smiled and walked up to the counter, placing a coin and said, "Get me 2 packs of tissues." When he looked over, Jianxing looked away instead. "Oh, okay." Jianxing hurriedly lowered her eyes to look at the few opened packs of tissues beside her, her tone normal. "Which brand?" "Any." Jianxing handed him 2 packs of green heart to heart. The boy was about to take it when his phone rang again. He smiled helplessly, telling Jianxing, "Leave it there." With that, he took out his phone and went to the door to answer it. Seeing his back, Jianxing's fingers pinching the tissues tightened slightly, and then she gently placed the tissues on the glass counter. As she pulled her hand back, she pinched the coin on the counter. The coin carried a thin layer of warmth and was damp with water, wetting Jianxing's hands. Her heart went soggy too. The thrill of stolen joy came as suddenly as the rain. She pinched the coin twice and put it back into her pocket, then took a bill from the same pocket and put it into the cash register. Both were of the same value. No one would care about the difference between paper money and coins. Not even the boy. He didn't even look at it, just shoved it directly into his pocket. Those tightrope-like emotions, only Jianxing knew. The rain continued, making the blue checkered umbrella held up by the boy's broad shoulders seem a bit small. The wind blew the rain onto his shoulder. He bowed slightly and disappeared into the rain. Inside the counter, Jianxing didn't feel the rain, yet the palm of her hands were completely wet. She exhaled softly, slowly dispersing the tension and guilt that was building up inside her. The boss suddenly popped out of nowhere and exclaimed, "What a handsome boy." Jianxing was so startled her breath hitched, getting stuck halfway in her throat, nearly suffocating her. "Great height, must be a college student," the boss laughed, "even taller than my son." "No, he's not," Jianxing suddenly said. The boss replied, "What do you mean no?" "He's not a college student," Jianxing said. The boss looked a bit surprised. "You know him? You two didn't seem to know each other just now." "I know him." Jianxing looked at the footprints on the ground, her voice a bit low. "I know him. He just didn't know her." The summer rain indeed took on the form of showers. One moment it was a torrential fall, and the next it abruptly ceased. After just a few minutes, the muggy heat would return. If it weren't for the residual water on the ground, Jianxing almost thought that everything she just experienced was a mere illusion. Splitting a piece of candy as she trod along the path, she was surprised to find an empty house upon her return. It was until sundown that her grandma, Jianrulu, and Lu Cheng returned home. Upon seeing Jianxing, her grandma immediately shoved something into her hands. "Here, take this," she said. "What is it?" Jianxing asked, puzzled. Peering down at her hand, she saw a small bottle enclosed within a bag. She was about to pull it out for a better look when Jianrulu, parking her tricycle in the courtyard, cut in some fancy sunscreen lotion nonsense. "You will be training in the military, won't you? Look at this weather. Standing under the sun, you will certainly get tanned," Grandma reasoned. "Apply several layers of it. You look good, fair and fresh." Jianrulu scoffed. "Look good? Can looking good feed us?" "Oh, stop being a grouch," Grandma complained. "Fed up, are you? Let's see if she dares to act fed up." "Irritated?" "You're irritated," yet she wouldn't dare to express a glimmer of irritation, retorted Jianrulu as she headed to the kitchen. She paused beside Jianxing, giving her an up-and-down look, a lurking curiosity hidden behind her gaze, and then cautiously advised, "You're in high school now, not junior high. One wrong step, and the whole family will have to return to farming." There was silence from Jianxing. Did you hear that? Jianrulu asked. I heard you, Jianxing replied. Satisfied with her response, Jianrulu, however, continued her tirade. A whip cannot get a fart out of a horse. Like father, like daughter, both as inept as the other. Having been a subject of slander for well over a decade, Wu Cheng initially took it in his stride, but these past 2 years, as Jianxing was getting older, he began to feel slightly uneasy. As a man who struggled to strike a conversation with his daughter, he awkwardly advised, It's okay, just go in and try the sunscreen Grandma got you. See if you like it. Jianxing agreed. This made Grandma ecstatic. Along with Jianxing, she entered the room, reiterating, Don't forget to apply it, you must apply it. Jianxing couldn't help but laugh. I got it. Grandma pinched Jianxing's face fondly. Look at you, look so good when you smile. Jianxing offered another polite smile. A few days later, the new semester at Hezhong School was about to commence. Jianxing was reminded by her grandma to apply sunscreen before she even left the house. It was really not necessary that day, as it was just a simple registration and orientation day, but seeing how excited her grandma was, Jianxing couldn't stand to disappoint her. Taking her grandma's advice seriously, she diligently applied a layer of sunscreen. She spent the morning helping Jianrulu at home and decided to head to school only in the afternoon, around 3. On registration day, the notice board was usually swarmed in the morning, but at this time there were only a few people lingering. The notice board displayed the class distribution and allocation based on middle school test scores, with 65 students assigned to each class. Hezhong School categorized their classes into 3 types: ambition, transition, and normal. The ambition classes were filled with exemplary students who scored well in middle school. Generally, those who managed to enter the ambition classes were ranked at the top of the entire county in their middle school tests. As the name implied, transition classes were for students transitioning from one stage to another. The school would form 3 classes with the 120 students who ranked right after those in the ambition classes. The rest of the students would be allocated to the normal classes. Jianxing was stellar during her middle school years, but upon reaching high school, she realized everyone was just as exemplary. After pouring in 3 years of hard work, she barely made it to the tail of the transition class. Jianxing, someone taps her shoulder. Jianxing turns around and sees Zulu, the English class representative from the next class over in junior high. They used to share the same English teacher and had some interactions. Seeing Jianxing, one of the few classmates who got into Hezhong High School, Zulu is quite excited. What a coincidence. It really is, Jianxing replies. Jianxing has always been a reserved person, so Zulu doesn't feel alienated by her indifferent response. Zulu takes the initiative to ask, Which class are you in? Our scores in the middle school entrance exams were quite close, aren't we in the same class? Jianxing only checked her own class when she looked at the class division table earlier. She hadn't seen others. She replies, I'm in class 3. Zulu's eyes widen with surprise. Really? I am too. Jianxing is also somewhat surprised. She allows a hint of emotion to show that's really a coincidence. Perhaps the serial coincidences make them feel a kind of fate between them. Any minor barriers that existed between the two disappear instantly. Zulu directly hooks her arm around Jianxing's. That's great, we can eat lunch together today. Huh? Jianxing asks. Aren't you going home? Do you not know? Zulu asks. In high school, we have evening self-study sessions. It starts tonight. Jianxing is surprised at missing such important news. She asks, Has this already been announced? Yes, Zulu points to a spot and says, The notice is posted over there. All first-year students are to have regular evening self-study sessions starting today. It's still daylight saving time now, so it starts at 6:50. But, isn't it not even 4 o'clock yet? Jianxing is puzzled. Zulu exclaims, Don't you want to explore the nearby food spots? I haven't eaten at the school cafeteria yet, so I'm excited. Jianxing doesn't quite understand this kind of excitement but agrees by nodding her head. Hezhong High School is one of the key provincial-level schools in He County, and its architecture and layout are almost an exact copy of Peking University. As new entrants to this campus, Jianxing and Zulu diligently tour the school. As they pass Zhuanyuan Pavilion, Zulu lets go of Jianxing and folds her hands in front of Zhuanyuan Lake with a pious face. She mumbles quietly, I hope I can be granted my wish and get into a key university. After sincerely saying this 3 times, Zulu prods Jianxing to join her. Feeling helpless, Jianxing responds, "This is useless. We'd be better off spending this time on a few more questions." Zulu immediately collapses. "Don't say any more, I feel so pressured." Jianxing smiles and suggests, "Let's go to the bookstore. The school has a Xinhua bookstore." "Really? That's great." Zulu is so excited she doesn't even question why Jianxing, who has just entered the school less than an hour ago, would know about the bookstore. Instead of taking the original route, the two decided to cross a bridge over the lake. As they were walking to the center of the bridge, they looked down and saw a few boys squatting at the other end of the bridge. These boys, dressed in blue and white uniforms from Hezong High School with 2008 printed on the back, are sophomores. Zulu, who had always idealized key high schools, was disappointed to see students here who weren't well behaved. Perhaps it's because their gaze was too direct, attracting the attention of the group of boys. Zulu, feeling a bit scared, whispers to Jianxing, "Should we go back?" Zulu had assumed that Jianxing would be even more frightened in her mind. Jianxing seemed to have no particularly good friends. Moreover, their middle school was a private one, with not many high-achieving students. Most of them were either from rural areas with no registered residency in the city or were forced to transfer because of troubles in their public schools. Few were willing to abide by the rules set by the head teacher. However, Jianxing had always abided by the rules for those 3 years. She was the model child in everyone's eyes, and obedient children should stay away from the bad students. Yet to Zulu's surprise, Jianxing says, "It's fine, I know them." Jianxin said something that suggests familiarity, but her expression was as cold as a stranger's. Zulu could not determine whether Jianxin really knew the person or was simply telling a fib, but the fact that she herself did not know the person was true, so she could only cling to Jianxin and pass by with a forced calm. As they walked past the bridge, she sneakily glanced at the one leaning against the tree. She only dared to look at him, because among the 3, he had the gentlest appearance. He even had an air of a good student. Suddenly, this person opened his mouth and called out Jianxin in a neither loud nor soft voice. Zulu felt guilty, as if a thorn was in her back, and she stopped. Holding tightly onto Jianxin's arm, Jianxin felt a bit of pain, patted Zulu reassuringly and said, "It's fine." She turned her head towards the side. "Is there something?" The one squatting by the river opened his mouth first. "Yo. Jiaming, do you know her?" The one sitting on the stone, having tossed his cigarette, looked at her curiously, a junior. "Qin Jiaming, you're really good at keeping secrets. When did you get to know her?" Qin Jiaming gave a chuckle and straightened up, approaching Jianxin. He first looked at Zulu amiably, before asking Jianxin, "Which class are you in?" Jianxin replied, "Class 3, a transition class." Qin Jiaming asked. Jianxin nodded. Qin Jiaming also nodded. Impressive. Jianxin smiled faintly. After a brief silence, Qin Jiaming asked again, "Are you going home later?" Jianxin replied, "No, I have plans with my classmates." Qin Jiaming glanced at Zulu and nodded understandingly, saying, "All right, we'll chat another day." Jianxin agreed. When she turned around, Jianxin glanced at the neatly folded blue checkered umbrella placed next to the guy on the stone. It was a common one that could easily be found on the racks of a supermarket. Despite that, she couldn't resist turning her head for a better look. He seemed to be quite outgoing. As he caught Jianxin's gaze, he raised his arm and waved, "Goodbye, Junior." Jianxin retracted her gaze and nodded slightly. Just as she was about to walk away, footsteps suddenly resounded from behind her. The one who had been sitting on the stone stood up and shouted, "This!" The footsteps from behind her became closer, accompanied by a man's calm voice, "I've seen it." Jianxin's movements faltered slightly. Zulu, who had been eager to leave, had not heard the person approaching them. Afraid her hesitation was too apparent, Jianxin could only follow Zulu. They'd only walked 2 steps when Qin Jiaming spoke again. "Jianxin." Jianxin immediately turned around. She reacted quickly, as if truly curious about why Qin Jiaming had called her. In that instant, as she turned around, her gaze involuntarily lingered at the riverside for a moment, only for a moment, before she nonchalantly retracted her gaze. She tried to act as if nothing was amiss, but in reality, her heart was pounding so hard she thought it would burst and her ears were burning hot. Afraid that Qin Jiaming would notice something, she took the initiative to ask, "What?" Sudden panic made her voice tense and she choked, coughing a couple of times before finally managing to get the discomfort under control. Her vision was blurred by a physiological fog, causing her discomfort to magnify and make her more anxious. She wanted nothing more than to run away. Qin Jiaming patted her back a couple of times. "Are you okay?" Jianxin waved her hand, her voice a bit hoarse. "I'm fine, as long as you're all right." "I'll introduce you to someone," Qin Jiaming said. "He's in the same grade." Upon hearing his words, the one who had previously been squatting by the river sighed dramatically. These days, even making friends has become a matter of class. How the world has fallen. Qin Jiaming laughed and cursed. "Get lost. He, Junior. I am Wu Dan. Call me Egg Brother when you see me. But I am not a part of any transition class or Hongzi class." Wu Dan turned to the stone. "Now there's a good student over there." Jianxin blinked. Finally, it made sense for her to look over. The boy was heading right towards the stone to pick up his umbrella, but upon realizing he was being watched, he straightened up and looked right at Jianxin. It was still hot and bright at 4 or 5 in the afternoon in summer. The shimmering lake behind him made Jianxin's eyes burn. Jianxin swallowed her feelings and didn't blink or say anything. The boy made the first move, nodding slightly as a greeting. Qin Jiaming introduced him, Xu Zhengqing, and this is Jianxin from class 3. Xu Zhengqing had big hands. His not-so-small umbrella looked a bit like a miniature toy in his hands. He stood straight and said, "I'm from class 1. It wasn't just about academic performance. Temperamentally, Xu Zhengqing was the polar opposite of Wu Dan and his friends. He was in a simple white hoodie. Despite still being in his teenage years, he already had handsome features, a face that parents would love and admire. On standing straight, it was conspicuous that he was well over 1.80 meters tall, higher than Qin Jiaming. Qin Jiaming looked at Xu Zhengqing surprisingly. "Why aren't you in the experimental class?" "I didn't go," Xu Zhengqing replied half joking. "I couldn't handle the rigorous training." The one who was sitting on the stone stood up, walked a few steps over to Xu Zhengqing, and slung an arm around his shoulders, saying to Qin Jiaming, "Have you ever seen our big bro Xu being so cool?" Xu Zhengqing gave him a mild nudge with his elbow and chuckled. "Hey, show some respect to your seniors." Wu Dan couldn't stand it. He hit with the willow branch and scolded, "Zhangzi, can't you have some shame?" "Zhangzi, where am I shameless? Aren't I his senior? I'm not just his senior, but for the rest of his life, I'll always be his senior." "Don't make such grandiose declarations." Qin Jiaming teased Zhangzi and continued speaking with Xu Zhengqing. "So you and Jianxin are in the same building. What a coincidence." Xu Zhengqing seemed to understand the implications of Qin Jiaming's words. He glanced at Jianxin again and nodded towards her. At that moment, a breeze blew, lifting Jianxin's ponytail. Warmness spread over her neck. She felt a sudden tingling sensation across her body. Afterwards, she tried to smile stiffly at Xu Zhengqing. Xu Zhengqing left after picking up his umbrella and saying goodbye to them. He did not linger around like Jianxin and Zhu Lu. Instead, he turned and walked back the way he had come. Jianxin turned her body and glanced back at the bridge as she went around the corner to look for Xinhua bookstore. The boy's figure flashed past, leaving only the trace of the willow trees swaying. His appearances were casual and his departures were traceless. He might never know that his mere presence made the day special. "I think today is the end of summer's heat," Zhu Lu said beside her. "Yes," Jianxin said, "it's the end of summer's heat. The hot summer finally ends." Xu Zhengqing finally met her. During the new student enrollment period, Xinhua bookstore was populated with newcomers who were flipping through books out of curiosity in a cramped space. Jianxin and Zhu Lu were not interested in squeezing with the crowd, so they left after a quick glance. On the road, Zhu Lu was absent-minded. Jianxin roughly guessed what she was thinking, but she didn't initiate a conversation. It was only during dinner that Zhu Lu casually asked, "Is your hometown He County, Jianxin?" Jianxin said it wasn't. It seemed Zhu Lu found some common ground. She hastily said, "Neither is mine. I always lived in the dormitory. I remember you didn't live there in junior high, did you?" "My parents are here," Jianxin replied. "Both of them?" Zhu Lu asked. Jianxin nodded. "We moved here in the 6th grade." Zhu Lu looked at Jianxin and inquired, "Did they move here specifically for your schooling?" Jianxin faltered for a moment with her chopsticks. She mumbled unclearly, "More or less." "Oh," Zhu Lu responded, prodding at the vermicelli in her bowl. She moved on, "Then you must have many friends." "I don't have many friends here." "Don't you have classmates from your hometown?" Jianxin asked. Zhu Lu replied, "None are from our school. Some are from the second high school. Zhang is also a public high school in the county, but its educational resources and environment aren't as good as Hejiang, and it has more students studying art. Jianxing nodded. Zulu asked naturally, were those people this afternoon your former classmates? Jianxing said they weren't. Zulu, with her eyes wide open, waited for Jianxing to continue speaking. Unexpectedly, Jianxing had nothing more to say. Zulu's face revealed a strong desire for knowledge, but also a self-awareness that she and Jianxing were not particularly close, which made her embarrassed to keep asking. For a moment, her expression was indescribably complicated. 15 and 16 are the transitional age from adolescence to adulthood. Everyone is eager to have an independent personality and thinking, but they have no choice but to fail in the face of their limited experience. Their all meticulous attempts are filled with profound implications. In the evening self-study, arrive on time for class, the first day is all about grouping and reserving seats. Jianxing and Zulu are not tall, and when they entered the class it was already late, and Zulu was upset as she didn't have many good seat options left. Her face turned pale with anger. Jianxing dragged her and sat her in a corner, slightly to the back. Without a word, Zulu sat down, and after a while, she started to cry. Jianxing, a little confused, handed her a tissue and asked, "Where would you like to sit?" Zulu twisted the paper and said nothing. Without her speaking, Jianxing didn't know what else to ask, so she remained silent. There was a boy sitting in the front row near the window, his back against the wall, sitting in a rather casual manner. He glanced at Zulu and asked Jianxing, "What's wrong with her?" Jianxing replied, "She doesn't really like this spot." The boy seemed to disdain Zulu's behavior, glanced at her and laughed. "If you don't like it, come earlier, the class starts at 5 o'clock. They had just come out of Xinhua bookstore for dinner at 5:30. They really couldn't blame anyone else. Jianxing sighed softly. Zulu, who originally just had teary eyes, cried even harder on the table when she heard what the boy said, her self-esteem challenged. Together with the boy's casual sitting posture in the front row, the surrounding people thought Zulu was being bullied and kept looking over. The boy turned pale instantly and brought his two male friends from the front row to change seats with Zulu and Jianxing. Zulu, although crying, got up immediately to change seats. The class seating was chaotic. There were 3 rows in the middle and 2 on both sides, with some spaces in the back. Except for the middle row, every other row had passageways on both sides, convenient for moving around. Moving from the 3rd last row to the 5th row, although still on the side, made Zulu's complexion look a lot better. She also took out the candy she just bought from her pocket and gave it to the boy behind her. She didn't even turn her head when she handed out the candy, just twisted her body to pass it to the boy. Her posture was awkward, so was her approach to reconcile. The boy chuckled, sat upright and poked Zulu. "Do you have anything else to swap?" Zulu sniffled and turned her head to ask, "Do you want a grape-flavored one?" The boy stared at her and said, "No, I just want to see your face." The boy's gaze was straightforward, as were his words. Zulu's face turned red instantly. She almost snatched back the candy in his hand. The boy leaning against the wall laughed for a while. The boy who was forced to move from the 5th row to the back had a complex mood. He also poked him and said, "Stop laughing, Leji. I'm the one who lost the most, okay?" Just as they were talking, a man walked in who was very tall, looking to be about 1.9 meters, very thin, wearing a black modified Zhongshan shirt and wearing glasses. His height was a bit extraordinary, and as soon as he walked in, the originally noisy class suddenly became quiet. A brave one voiced out, "This must be genes from a beanstalk, right?" The whole class burst into laughter. Jianxing sat in the inner position, propped up her head and smiled a little. Zulu was so shocked that she forgot to continue blushing, and leaned close to Jianxing to whisper, "It's really tall, feels even taller than Xu Zhengqing." The smile on Jianxing's lips receded a bit at the sound. She glanced at Zulu, quickly took back her gaze and nodded, uttering a light hum. "The beanpole can't compare to my solid body." After everyone had laughed enough, the man picked up a piece of chalk and, talking and writing at the same time, inscribed 3 flamboyant characters, Zhu Changlin. The bold one chimed in again, "He certainly is tall." Underneath, laughter erupted again. Zhu Changlin didn't get angry, but with a cheery smile broke off a piece of chalk and very accurately threw it at the bold student's head, saying, "Now it's your turn. Come on up and introduce yourself." This time it was others' turn to thump the tables and whistle. The bold one was indeed bold. With no hesitation, he went up on stage, bowed seriously, and then wrote his name on the blackboard. "Hello everyone, my name is Chen Shi." Just a name, and there was already a reaction from the crowd. Jianxing had an impression of Chen Shi. He was their class's top student. Chen Shi was quite talkative and made a good start. With the applause of the crowd, he returned to his seat. Once Chen Shi had settled down, the class gradually quieted down. Who would be next? Xu Zhengqing stood at the last row, glanced carelessly to the left and pointed in a direction. "You go." It was the one who had made Zulu cry. His name was Lin Yule. Lin Yule was also quite talkative, but compared to Chen Shi, he was a bit more casual. After he spoke a few words, Xu Zhengqing pointed at a few more people. Everyone then realized that these people were all those who had just thumped the tables and whistled, and suddenly their opinion of Xu Zhengqing changed. Perhaps this is how adults show their authority. "Next, shall I just call out the student numbers?" Xu Zhengqing said. "After all, I don't recognize any of you." Just as he spoke, there was a knock at the door. Jianxing, from her position, couldn't see who it was at first glance. She wasn't particularly interested, but somehow heard someone say, "It's Xu Zhengqing." Jianxing looked up, and a figure in white walked in. As a new student, Xu Zhengqing had a natural ease about him. He naturally called out, "Mr. Xu, may I borrow a box of chalk?" Xu Zhengqing responded just as casually, "All right, since you're here, why don't you introduce yourself before you leave?" Xu Zhengqing couldn't help but laugh, but he didn't refuse either. He walked up to the podium confidently, saw several names on the board, and used half a piece of chalk to write down his own name. It was in regular script, so beautiful that everyone couldn't help but whisper to each other. "Hello everyone, I am Xu Zhengqing from class 1. Xu Zhengqing picked up a box of chalk and said, "If anyone needs chalk in the future, you can come to me." He was about to leave after speaking. Xu Zhengqing called out, "Hold on." Xu Zhengqing responded with a "huh?" Lin Yule laughed and shouted, "Brother Xu, you should respond with 'Yes, sir.'" "It's been 393 years, Brother Lin." Xu Zhengqing's voice carried a hint of laughter. Lin Yule fell silent and began applauding. With a neither light nor heavy kick, Xu Zhengqing said to Xu Zhengqing, "Give me a number." Xu Zhengqing asked, "Range?" Xu Zhengqing said, 65. Xu Zhengqing replied casually, "Then I'll choose 3. After speaking, he didn't linger anymore and seemed to be in a hurry to get chalk for his class. The moment he left, Xu Zhengqing pointed at the roster and landed on the third line, number 3, Jianxing. Jianxing's self-introduction was very straightforward. Perhaps because she was the first girl to go, the people beneath unanimously clapped their hands in encouragement. Jianxing curved her lips, revealing a friendly smile. Xu Zhengqing stood by the door and said after Jianxing was almost finished, "You should also report your number." Jianxing casually reported an 18. She was about to step down from the stage, but before she could move, there was a knock on the door. Jianxing turned her head and was taken aback when she saw who it was. It was Xu Zhengqing again. When Xu Zhengqing saw her, his expression was also somewhat surprised. He didn't know whether he was surprised that he had accidentally called out to her or surprised by her ranking. It was unlikely that they could pretend not to know each other after meeting in the afternoon, so Jianxing thought about it and stiffly tugged at the corner of her mouth. Xu Zhengqing naturally smiled, and then said to Xu Zhengqing, "Teacher Xu, we're moving books now." Xu Zhengqing held the roll call in his hand and said without looking up, "I'd appreciate it if you'd gather more people from your class to help, just to return the favor." Xu Zhengqing couldn't help but laugh, as if he found it a bit absurd. "Should I return the chalk now?" Xu Zhengqing looked up and said with a straight face, "We don't need it anymore." "Us?" Xu Zhengqing looked into the classroom. Lin Yule was the first to shout, "We don't need it. We don't want the chalk we borrowed, or the water we splashed." Xu Zhengqing looked up. "Lin Yule, you are the language class representative." Lin Yule stood up immediately and saluted, "Understood." Xu Zhengqing leaned on the doorframe, watching Lin Yule say, "Can our class rep help move the language books?" Lin Yule ran out with a smile, "My pleasure." He seemed to have a good relationship with Xu Zhengqing, who joked, "If I didn't know better, I'd think you're the English representative." "I'm not incapable of holding multiple positions," Lin Yule shamelessly retorted. The two chatted as they walked away. Jianxing turned her gaze back, stepped down from the podium, and was just about to land when she heard Xu Zhengqing say, "Jianxing, right?" Jianxing looked at Xu Zhengqing, nodded, You can temporarily serve as the English class representative. Xu Zhengqing looked at the other students in the class and said, I checked, Jianxing scored 148 in the English entrance exam. He looked at Jianxing and asked, the 2 points were deducted in the essay, right? Jianxing said, I suppose so. Her English has always been very good, and the exam questions were indeed not worth her getting them wrong. So, please bear with us for a while, Xu Zhengqing said. After the midterm exams, you can see if you have any other thoughts. Jianxing nodded and agreed. When she got back to her seat, Zulu looked at her, seemingly wanting to say something. Jianxing asked, what's wrong? After a few seconds of silence, Zulu bit her lip and said, it's nothing. She clearly had something to say, but Jianxing felt that they weren't familiar enough with each other to probe further, so she didn't ask again. There wasn't much to do on the first day of school. In addition to getting to know the classmates and receiving books, they listened to the head teacher's instructions on military training. There were uniform military training uniforms. As the monitor, she recorded everyone's height and size, and then went to get the military training uniforms with Lin Yule. After getting them, they distributed them to everyone. And the day went by just like that. The military training traditionally lasts a week, and the first day is the most tortuous. In the heat of August, standing under the scorching sun, everyone who had been living a leisurely life at home for 2 months could barely stand for 10 or 20 minutes without feeling completely drained. Oh my God, military training is so painful. Zulu took off her hat to fan herself off. Jianxing also found it to be brutal, but she was too tired to even speak. She just bowed her head, hoping that the saying a calm heart naturally brings coolness was reliable. However, before she could calm down, a cold object suddenly touched the back of her neck. The immense difference in temperature almost numbed the little exposed skin she had. Jianxing couldn't help but inhale sharply, instinctively shrinking her neck. Turning her head, she found Lin Yule squatting behind her, stunned for a second, then quickly apologizing. Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. Everyone's dressed the same. I thought you were Sister Lu. Zulu turned her head. Your sister is here. Lin Yule was smiley, holding a bottle of iced mineral water in his hand, passing it to Zulu. Zulu glared at him. Only one bottle. Don't you girls all love to share a bottle? Fine, I'll get another one, Lin Yule said, getting up to leave. As he walked, he shouted, Brother Zhu. Not far away, Xu Zhengqing was standing under a tree. He wasn't wearing a hat, his hair loosely tousled, with occasional stray strands on his forehead, his face somewhat sunburned. He was holding a bottle of mineral water, the droplets on the bottle seeping out from his fingers. Not particularly caring, he flicked the water off his fingers and unscrewed the cap. While drinking, someone spoke to him, and he leaned his ear toward them. Must have been something funny, because he was obviously smiling. Just as Lin Yule ran over, bent down and took a bottle from the mineral water box at Xu Zhengqing's feet. Without uttering a word, he ran off. The man next to Xu Zhengqing must know Lin Yule. He cursed loudly, this guy, always freeloading. Xu Zhengqing also looked over, and the smile on his lips hadn't entirely faded, revealing a nonchalant laziness. A breeze was blowing under the tree, ruffling his disheveled hair. He blinked indifferently. From a moderate distance, Jianxing clearly saw a green leaf flutter onto his shoulder. He seemed unaware, still looking in her direction. Oh my God. Look, the class monitor of Class 1. Isn't he handsome? Ling Jia, wasn't this your middle school class monitor? Ling Jia replied, yes, and not only was he the class monitor, but he was also the most popular guy in school. His admirers could line up from our class to Minzhong. Haha. Really? Then did you like him? Of course, Ling Jia answered honestly. Who didn't? And the teasing commences. Ling Jia carelessly said, okay, don't start with me. He's a good guy. It's normal to like him. Besides, with so many people liking him, no one dares to actually confess their feelings. What are you talking about? You're the representative of the Chinese class, and you're speaking in run-on sentences. Ling Jia laughed and said, that's why I'm now giving the hat to Lin Yule. Lin Yule immediately raised his hands to surrender. Stop, Sister Jia, I have so much pressure hearing you say that. I'll give it back to you right after the exam. Seeing them chatting happily, Zulu couldn't help but join in. Were you guys in the same class in middle school? Ling Jia replied, yes, but I was the Chinese class representative. Then he. Zulu said, that's probably because you didn't have the chance to show off in the first few days of school. If you had done your self-introduction earlier, you'd definitely still be the class representative. Please, I'd do anything to avoid this disdainful role. Amid the laughter and chatter, Xu Zhengqing's gaze remained on them. Amid the vast sea of people, like everyone else, Jianxing pretends to look at him curiously. As she looked, her gaze collided directly with Xu Zhengqing's. Did he notice her? Oh my god, who is he looking at? Is it me? Is it me? Why? Because you have a big face. Damn. Get lost. In a quiet corner, Jianxing felt her once calm heart starting to churn again. Sweat began to seep out from under her clothes. She took a breath without making noise, licked her lips, about to give Xu Zhengqing a smile, but he slowly turned his head back at this moment. He faced sideways, conversation continuing with a smiling face to the person next to him. The smile on Jianxing's lips froze. He did not see her, or he wasn't looking at her at all. Bang! A wave of embarrassment for being overly presumptuous flushed her face. Jianxing, your face is so red. Zulu suddenly leaned over. Jianxing was flustered and lowered her head. The brim of her hat cast a shadow and she responded softly, "Ah, it's hot." Laughter with teasing dialogue came from the side. "Ha ha ha, he's not looking at you. Who cares? I guarantee there were many girls on this side just now who thought Xu Zhengqing was looking at them. Damn, impossible. Who would be so presumptuous? It's you, ha ha ha." Words and sentences, though not about her, sounded harsh and piercing to Jianxing, as if her whole person was stripped bare and basked in the sun. After a while, she stood up abruptly. "I'm going to the bathroom." Zulu also stood up. "I'll go with you." "No need." Jianxing quickly fled. She ran to wash her face, but the tap water in the summer was hot, and the temperature of her face didn't drop, it rose, and her restless desire became even more obvious. Jianxing was a little annoyed, staring at the falling water from the faucet, not moving for a long time. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from the side and turned off the faucet. Jianxing was startled and turned her head to see that it was none other than Xu Zhengqing. Her pupils instinctively dilated. Xu Zhengqing, with a thick pile of forms in one hand, said, "I thought the faucet was broken." Jianxing came to her senses and hurriedly explained, "No, I just was." Jianxing suddenly fell quiet. She blinked, shook her head after a pause, and even managed a small smile, saying, "Nothing, thank you." "Oh, we have to fill out a form later. Has it been given to your class?" Xu Zhengqing shook the forms in his hand. Jianxing said, "All right." With the forms in her hand, Xu Zhengqing said, "You go back first. I have to distribute these to other classes." Jianxing said, "All right." Xu Zhengqing then turned around and left. The moment his silhouette disappeared from sight, Jianxing lightly twisted her body, lowered her head, and touched the faucet. "Oh right, your class," the voice suddenly appeared and then abruptly stopped. Jianxing's back stiffened, and she quickly withdrew her hand. She turned again as if nothing happened, but her coarse voice betrayed her nervousness. "What's the matter?" "I just remembered that your class shares the same instructor with class 4, Xu Zhengqing said, "I'll give you their forms as well." Jianxing responded with an "oh," saying, "All right." Xu Zhengqing took out another pile of forms for her. At this moment, the whistle suddenly sounded, making Xu Zhengqing glance at the thick pile of forms in his hand, then at Jianxing, asking, "Shall we go back together?" "Oh," Jianxing almost tripped, "all right." Halfway through, Xu Zhengqing divided the adjacent instructor's forms for Jianxing, saying that they could distribute them together, and it was only then that Jianxing remembered that Xu Zhengqing was supposed to distribute the forms. At this point, they reached the front of one of the arrays, and Jianxing saw that a student was being punished to stand for being late. In an instant, she seemed to understand Xu Zhengqing's intention of wanting to go back with her. At this time, the sunlight reflected on the white paper was brighter and it was making Jianxing's eyes a little hot. She glanced sideways at Xu Zhengqing. He was walking on one side, tall and broad-shouldered, blocking a lot of sunshine. Against the light, Jianxing couldn't see his face clearly and could only make out a vague silhouette under the brim of his hat. She stared and suddenly said, "I wasn't wasting water just now." Xu Zhengqing was slightly startled at first, then smiled and said, "I know." Finally, the stuffiness in Jianxing's heart dissipated. Soon, the two walked into their ranks, and Jianxing handed the forms to the instructor and returned to her spot under the silent yet prying pairs of eyes. As she brushed past Xu Zhengqing, Jianxing caught a glimpse of the ground. Their shadows were huddled together, then separated.